In the nation's capital, thousands of people gathered on the National Mall yesterday for a day-long prayer rally billed as a rededication of our country as one nation under God. Trump read a passage of scripture in a video shown at the rally. The conservative Christian lineup featured guests who often argue that the U.S. was founded as a Christian nation, a narrative disputed by many historians and other religious traditions. In other news, AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports the stricken hantavirus ship has come to the end of its journey.
The cruise ship hit by a deadly hantavirus outbreak has docked at the Dutch port of Rotterdam for disinfection, wrapping up a troubled journey that has put international health authorities on alert. The NV Hondius was carrying 25 crew members and 2 medical personnel as it reached Rotterdam on Monday morning after all the passengers disembarked elsewhere. AP reports people boarding the boat were wearing white hazardous materials suits. A short distance from where the ship docked, authorities have set up white containers along the water in between a line of windmills. The crew will enter immediate quarantine, with those who cannot be immediately repatriated spending their time in quarantine in these containers. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
World shares mostly retreated and oil prices jumped after Trump warned Tehran that the clock is ticking. U.S.-Iran negotiations over a permanent end to the war have stalled. More information at apnews.com. This is AP News. AP correspondent Donna Warda reports on a community college student in Michigan who's becoming a first.
Michaela Esposito is a student at Washtenaw Community College in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and she's really good at welding. So good, she'll be the first female welder to represent the United States at a worldwide competition in China in September called the World Skills Competition. Esposito said when she was a kid, she had a dream of being the first female to accomplish something.
I just figured everything was already taken. So when I got to this position, I figured out that this is kind of my shot to make history in a way.
She says she's getting a lot of practice.
I'm currently welding 80 hours a week, and in between now and September, I'll be doing a series of practice competitions.
Her instructor, Alex Peskowski, finished second in the competition in 2013. I'm Donna Warder.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies, high into the lower 80s. Breezy southwest winds at 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, a chance for showers and storms, cloudy, a low near 68. By Tuesday, chance for rain showers and storms, cloudy, high of 81 degrees. Wednesday, partly sunny, high of 61. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 74.
Light at the end of the tunnel.
Light at the end of this tunnel.
That light at the end of the tunnel.
Your guiding light.
That light is going to get brighter and brighter.
Through another day.
I think it's a great day.
The Joan Esposito Show. Live, local, and progressive. Weekday afternoons at 2 on WCPT 820.
Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Monday morning, progressives. And all the rest, of course, welcome to the May 18th, 2026 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is our number. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube. Also broadcasting on AM950 in Minneapolis, AM 1520, and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com and follow me on X and all the other places, Instagram, LinkedIn, Substack, Spoutable, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads. Yeah, all those places, as we always say. And then catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local and progressive, Patty Vasquez, Driving It Home, It's the Democracy Stupid with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other shows. Check them all out. It's a place to be. And the other place to be, of course, is heartlandsignal.com. Great articles, great posts. Always an opportunity to pick up some new information there. Share it, like it, share it, pass it on to people that you know that need to be better informed, or additionally, maybe it's a better word, additionally informed, because they may already be well informed, but more stuff. There you go. I hope everybody had a good weekend. Weather was great here in the Chicago metropolitan area and throughout most of the upper Midwest. So we always love it. We say this, we all say this pretty much every year. You know, March gets here, St. Patrick's Day comes and goes. You start to see a little bit of warming, and you realize, okay, the snow's probably going to leave us alone for a while. We'll have to worry about it until next November, December. But there's still that kind of rainy 45, 50-degree day, and you're hoping for 60s, and then baseball season starts and all the other things. And we just get excited as heck that, you know, we're above 32 degrees. And then we get in the 50s, and then we get in the 60s. And then all of a sudden somebody flips a switch, and it's 84 degrees on the weekends. And that's what happened this past weekend here in the great city of Chicago and the surrounding area. So people were out and about. You can always tell that the weather's getting right, because not only do you see, you know, traffic in terms of people driving into the city and going to different places in the suburbs, but then you also see folks out at all the different events and festivals. And throughout Chicago yesterday, there were a lot of things that were going on. So that was great to see. Folks that were doing different things in some of the surrounding suburbs. I was out a little bit myself, and I saw people just out and about. So you love it. You get people in Southern California and people in Florida and people in the southern states. You have no idea what it's like to go through weather transition like we do. So that's why I always laugh when I say laugh, but I don't mean it in a negative way. I chuckle is maybe a better way of putting it. When our brothers and sisters that live in southern states have a cold front that blows through, they don't know what to do. They're like, oh my God, it's 55 degrees in January. And they're like, oh. So it's always great to see everybody in Chicago, the suburbs, the upper Midwest, when we start to get that change that settles in. The next 5-6 months of the year will be glorious for so many of us. So I hope everybody had a chance to get out and enjoy themselves. I say this when the weather changes. Find a way to take a different way to work and home from work, or to wherever you go. Take a different route. The reason that I say that is you get to see a different neighborhood than you're used to seeing. I think it's good for your brain. I think it's certainly good for you, good for all the rest of you to see a different route. Go through a different neighborhood. Go get lost and see what that does for you. You go get lost, and then you can find your way to where you got to go. I think that just gives you a little bit of added perspective. You get to see some different folks, and you get to see some different things and different homes. And that is true wherever you live in the country. Go a different route. Why not? Try it a little bit differently. Maybe if you take public transportation, take it to your destination a different way. Use a different route. Just because you want to see other than just the things that that we're all accustomed to seeing. Challenge yourself with that. Give yourself the permission to say, if I get lost, I'll figure my way home. I'll figure my way to where I got to get to. I've always thought that was a kind of an important thing to do, is to get lost and then find your way back. You might say, where's what you're going with this? And where I'm going is, we as a political party have to remember that when we get challenged, when we're away from what's comfortable, that's where we improve. That's where we get stronger. I believe. I think that that's one of the opportunities that our party has right now, is that the losses that we absorbed in 2024 have yielded some good wins in 2025 and even so far in 2026. So not that we were lost necessarily, but we've had to change up a few things. We've had to strengthen our will. We've had to make the decision that we are going to come back as a party, and I think we've shown some really good signs of that. So get lost politically. Go out there, try something new, talk to some new people, find out who's someone that might be gettable, and go after and get them. Work on, us building that tent and strengthening what we're trying to do. That's I believe that. On today's show, we will be talking with Ellie Krug, author, lawyer, transgender activist, and host of The Illegal Trans Woman from KTNF in Minnesota. In the 7 o'clock hour, we'll be talking with Democratic strategist Mike Nellis, who's also the host of Endless Urgency. And in the 7:30 hour, president and founder of Public Rights Project, Joe Habig, will be with us. So we really are looking forward to having those guests hanging out with us. So stay tuned and get your notebooks out. Our question for the day is, have you been affected yet by data centers in your community? If you have you been affected yet by data centers in your community? And if so, what actions are you taking or those of your local officials taking to deal with that, to speak to that? Have you been affected by data centers in your communities? Let us know if you have. And of course, our number is 773-763-9278. You can call that number. Of course, we'll get you on. We'll talk to you. Or you can send a text to that number as well with what you may have seen or experienced. And then go to our Facebook page and post your comments there. Leave a comment. Let us know if you've been affected by data centers at this point in your community, and what actions are you taking, or what are some of the local officials taking in that space? And if you know someone that has, let us know about that as well, because I'm curious to find out. It's a conversation that we're already in. It's not something that's coming. We are already there. So I think that we owe it to ourselves to keep talking about that and figuring out what it is that we need to do to stay on top of that subject. So let us know what your thoughts are. Some of the weekend events we'll get to with our Choose Views news when we come back from this first break. But a couple of the updates that are going on with the Orange Menace and his band of knuckleheads. We'll call them, I won't say that they're idiots, but we'll call them knuckleheads. It was tempting, Devin. It really was. My mouth welled up like I'm going to call them, but I'm not. But see, now that we're talking about it, you can draw your own conclusions. But that being said, we'll talk a bit about some of the things that are happening with this White House and this presidency and the GOP at large. So we'll do our best to keep you on point in that. The other thing too, I want to mention, we're talking about the weekend and what people may have been doing and getting out and about. I saw a number of folks who were out with their children. I'm going to assume that they were their children. A lot of people that were out with their children, and they were using our parks a lot here in Chicago, which is one of the best things. We get our share of criticism from folks. Oftentimes ones that are trying to tear down our city or trying to make our city less great than it is. And I think this is true in some of our big cities, Philly, New York, Boston, LA, Minneapolis, even some of our bigger southern states that happen to be more blue populated, Dallas and Houston, San Antonio, Miami, list goes on. But one of the things that's really unique about Chicago is how well suited our parks are. It's one of the things that comes into play when people are talking about one of the great things about being in Chicago is they love our parks. And I saw a number of people out this weekend who were already starting to take advantage of getting out in the parks and doing things in the parks. Barbecues, people out with tents and stuff. And then, folks walking in the parks with their kids. It was just great to see. And I know a lot of that's weather driven, but we here in Chicago, and really, frankly, so many of our big blue cities do take advantage, do a good job of having parks available to the people that live in those cities and that visit those cities. And I hear that a lot from people who visit, and I read that a lot from people who visit Chicago, that they love our parks. And so it was great to see that this weekend. I forgot about that earlier when I was talking about the good weather. People were out in the parks. It puts a big smile on my face when I see that, particularly when they're out with their families and friends and all that. So kudos to all of us that understand the importance of big parks and using parks all over the country. Let's take a quick break. Of course, our number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and now AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Hey, looking for a winning team on a winning station? You found it right here on WCPT 820 AM. Join the marvelous one, Dan Marver, the palacious one, Paul Shivari, Sports on the Couches, Mike Mercado, and yours truly, Devin Tingle, every Sunday at 9 p.m. for the Sports Cubicle, where the inmates run the asylum, and the boss, well, they yell at us on Monday morning because we're working overtime. Looking for your late-night dose of sports talk radio? We're here. Join us on the Sports Cubicle, Sunday nights at 9 p.m.
This March Madness, Wendy's has a $1 JBC or double stack with in-app offer and purchase. So we're throwing the biggest watch party in the country and giving you the best seats to watch all the action. But just so you know, the seats are in a Wendy's, and the action is just staring at the $1 JBC or double stack in front of you. Also, you can bring a +1, if it's a burger. When it's gotta be fresh, gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only. Participating Wendy's. Limit 1 JBC or double stack or qualifying item per offer with additional purchase. Wendy's app account registration required.
You want to feel important.
You want to be part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things.
You want to feel like you belong.
We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it.
We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers.
We are normal people just like you. But our part-time service in the Army National Guard means we get to be more.
When our communities are in need, we get the chance to stand up and do something about it.
We get to serve in our own region and help the people we call neighbors.
From the lakeshores of Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota.
The fertile fields of Indiana, Illinois, and Iowa to the wide open plains of North and South Dakota.
We are here for our hometowns.
And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Illinois Army National Guard. Aired by the Illinois Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Mike's on, truth's out. This is Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Thank you for being with us on this Monday, May 18th, 2026. And what that means is we got a couple of Choose Views news items for you guys this Monday morning. Worker strike halts nation's largest commuter rail line. The nation's largest commuter rail halted abruptly on Saturday. About 3,500 engineers, signalmen, and other workers from New York's Long Island Railroad went on strike after their unions failed to reach a deal with transportation officials over wage increases for this year. The stoppage comes just as Long Island's peak tourist season begins, costing an estimated $70 million in lost economic activity each day. The Long Island Railroad carries about 300,000 riders into and out of New York City every day. That's a lot of people. So hopefully they can figure out how to come together and get that in place. Business schools reducing their tuition as MBA's demand is starting to cool down a little bit. They're knocking tens of thousands off their tuition fees to lure students amid waning demand for MBAs, according to the Wall Street Journal. Purdue University cut tuition by 40%, while the University of California, Irvine is reducing tuition by as much as 38%. Others, like Washington University and Johns Hopkins, are launching new scholarship programs. The price cuts come as many professionals opt to stay employed rather than step away to pursue a degree. Experts warn the discounting strategy may not be sustainable for schools already facing budget pressures. 2/3 of doctors are using AI for decision-making. Open Evidence, an artificial intelligence-powered tool for clinical decision-making, keeps gaining traction among doctors. The companies say about 650,000 physicians, almost 2/3 of U.S. doctors, use active AI tools, with another 1.2 million internationally. Open Evidence has seen exponential growth, raising $600 million with with a $12 billion valuation for the company. And they've adopted healthcare systems, including ones like Mount Sinai. While Open Evidence offers quick and tailored medical insights, some physicians have raised concerns about its accuracy. Potential impact could be critical in terms of skills and patient outcomes. I would agree with that. And why workday meetings should never be 30 minutes long. Do yourself and your colleagues a favor. Everybody's nodding their heads here. Shorten your meetings by 5 or 10 minutes, according to Andrew Miller, who advises the Washington Post. By default, many calendars set meetings to 30 minutes. That's true. Or even an hour, which often leads to back-to-back scheduling. Abbreviating meetings lengthens people's time to give them more time for transition, whether that means taking notes, using the restroom, or heading to a different location. The fix is easy. Google Calendar and Microsoft Outlook each have settings that turn half-hour meetings into 25 meetings or hour-long ones into 50. Yeah, and at some point you start repeating yourself, right, Devin? The things that they're talking about in the meeting just keep being regurgitated rather than, okay, let's come back and fix that on another time. I've been in those meetings. Studies tie longer working hours to higher obesity rates. A new study links together working hours with higher rates of obesity. Researchers are examining data across 33 countries spanning more than 30 years, found that nations with more annual working hours, including the United States and Mexico, had higher obesity rates. At the same time, trimming work hours by just 1% annually correlated to a 0.16 dip in obesity rates. According to studies, the study's lead author, Karila Kadera, the data indicates that when people have more balance in their life, they have a better life. Might be common sense, but I think sometimes we have to be reminded of that. So there you go, guys. A couple of quick Choose Views news items on this Monday, May 18th, 2026. So what's happening here at WCPT? Make sure you are paying attention to Joan Esposito. Today on Live, Local, and Progressive, she will be talking to 95-year-old legendary journalist and Harvard professor emeritus Marvin Kalb. I remember Marvin Kalb growing up. Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee President Heather Williams, Joel Ostro, professor of political science at Benedictine University. That's Live, Local, and Progressive weekdays, 2 to 5 here on WCPT, Heartland Signal AM 820, and of course on TuneIn. Driving it home tonight, Patty Vasquez will be joined by Ohio Congresswoman Amelia Sykes and Dan Schaefer, creator of the Recombination Area and political editor of Civic Media in Wisconsin. Driving it home with Patty Vasquez weekdays, 5 to 7 here on WCPT, AM 820, the Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And then tomorrow on Choose Views, my guests include author, human rights lawyer, and activist Qasim Rashid, and Run for Something Senior Director of Organizing and Recruitment, Candace Harris. Plus, my good friend Rico Moat will be joining me in studio throughout the for the show. And later this week, I'll be talking to Congresswoman Robin Kelly, Cook County Public Defender Sharon Mitchell Jr., and show regulars like Dante King, Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, Karen Byrne, and Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. So catch any of our episodes, this episode particularly, or past episodes, by going to our YouTube page at Heartland Signal, one word, and click the live tab. You can also subscribe to our YouTube page where you can find live streams and shorts from our Heartland Signal digital newsroom. So I got a text that I want, we're going to read from Beth in Michigan. Here we go. She's giving us a name for Trump and his band of knuckleheads. She says, called the 47's Brimstone Mafia. Not bad, Beth. Okay, we can dig that one. Yeah, that one. That's yeah. There we go. All right. So a couple of other updates for you guys in terms of what's happening in this world of the 47's Brimstone Mafia. That's a good one, Beth. You had your thinking cap on this morning. I think a lot of people, and I'm going to talk with Mike Nellis about this when he's on at 7, but I'm going to give you some of my thoughts right out of the gate on two things that maybe didn't really get a lot of conversation, but we'll see where it goes. One of them is that Lindsey Graham, you guys may have caught this, he admits that releasing the full Epstein files would destroy Trump. And I'm not going to agree or disagree with that, because at this point, Donald Trump politically should have been destroyed a while ago. But it still hasn't happened with all the things that have come out, all the things that he's done or not done, should have destroyed him. So I think that whether Lindsey is right or wrong, or how right or wrong he is, the real key to taking down Trump, frankly, I think there's two pieces to it. Whether it's the Epstein files, whether it's the war in Iran, whether it's the big ugly bill from last year, which is coming up on its year anniversary, if you can call it that, or a list of other things. I think it's two things, and they're kind of the opposite sides of the coin. One side of the coin is we as Democrats have to continue to push our candidates to be strong. We've got to put good candidates up. Let me start with that. And then the good candidates that we put up, we have to encourage them and push them to do better and be stronger. We just do. And not be mealy-mouthed about things. We have to encourage them and just motivate them, whatever the word is. Let them know we have their back. I've said this to a number of folks that I've been honored to interview on this show that are holding office or running for office. We got your back. Go in there and knock some tables over. So we have to encourage them to do that part of it. We know that. I'm sure tomorrow Qasim and I will talk about some of the issues with Democrats that he feels aren't strong enough. I get it. At the same time, we have to remind ourselves that the other side in this conversation, they're not doing their part either. So the reason I'm saying it this way, when I was looking at my notes, is that Lindsey could be right. He could be 100% right that releasing the Epstein files would destroy Donald Trump. Okay, that may be true. But we've had so many things that have happened that we're aware of, that we've seen, that are ongoing things that Donald Trump is not doing and he is doing, depending on which one you want to grab. And there are people in the Republican Party that are following right along with that. So I think it's less about, not that I'm saying that they shouldn't be, but I think it's less about the Epstein files being released as a tool or the thing that's a nail in the coffin to destroy Donald Trump politically. I think it's that the other side's got to do their part. The other side includes the cabinet, which we can't count on, and I don't. But certainly those who are elected to offices on the right, they've got to do their job. They're not doing their job, y'all. So it's great that Lindsey would say this, but it's also their responsibility to do their part, and they haven't. So it's two sides of this to destroy Donald Trump politically. We have to keep putting forward strong candidates, and the folks on the right, they got to do their job because they're the ones that have the power in terms of the numbers right now. Let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, as well as AM950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. When we come back, we'll be talking with Ellie Krug, who is one of the voices up in Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
This is exactly where we are. This is how we got here, because Joe Biden would not play that game. And, Obama did not play that game. We certainly didn't give them the clown show that Trump does. This is why I keep trying to tell people, it's not the show. Mm-hmm. Don't take the rage bait. Don't be part of the show. This is how he got elected again. These people want him in there because he makes them money. He gives them fame. Everybody's paying attention right now. They didn't pay attention when Biden was in office, and he was getting so much done. But they didn't pay attention because it wasn't a clown show. There wasn't the opportunity for them to, cover him and put on a little show of standing up to him for a second and then become famous and write a book.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter. When you leave the office, catch up on what you missed on the way home with Patty Vasquez. Weekday afternoons from 5 to 7.
Because we have so much to talk about every day.
Driving it home with Patty Vasquez.
And as you would imagine, that would mean that folks want to call in and join the conversation.
Only on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies, a high into the lower 80s. Breezy southwest winds at 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, a chance for showers and storms, cloudy, a low near 68. By Tuesday, chance for rain showers and storms, cloudy, high of 81 degrees. Wednesday, partly sunny, high of 61. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 73.
WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter.
It's Choose Views, where we read more than just the headline. Now here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Lots of thumbs ups around here this morning. You know, we had this great partnership with the folks up in Minnesota, Minneapolis, KTNF. And a few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to hang out with this very, very cool person that's a broadcaster. Ellie Krug is one of our, I'll say, radio partners is probably the best way of putting it. Author, lawyer, transgender activist, and host of The Illegal Trans Woman on KTNF in Minnesota. Good morning, Ellie, and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning, Richard. I'm thrilled to be here.
Absolutely.
At the ungodly hour of 6:30.
I told you I was going to get you.
You did.
We started this promo, meaning a promotional commercial rather, that we run for the folks that are not the early risers, and I have a couple of friends that are like, Chew, listen, man, I've caught your show a couple of times, and I've listened to it as in the podcast form because I don't get up at 6:30 in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning for anything. So, not even you. But I will catch your show later in the day, so that's always puts a smile on my face. Ellie, I hope you've been doing well. What's been happening in your world?
Oh, geez. You know, my world is a pretty big one because not only am I a radio and podcast host, but I'm also a national speaker on human inclusivity. I'm on my local school board. I happen to be a single parent to a 85-pound English cream golden retriever who's pretty neurotic. We had storms here last night, and he got a little bit of a trazodone dose.
Yeah.
Because he does not like thunder.
I don't know. I always feel bad for our pets when it's thundering and lightning because it just, we know that it affects them in a different way. So we always hate to see them go through that trauma of the thunder. So listen, I like you. We are equally impacted by some recent craziness that's come from this combination of the administration as well as it's come from the Supreme Court. What am I talking about? Obviously, the voting rights legislation and the voting rights, the sledgehammer that they've taken to voting rights. We saw this coming. You and I talked about this a month ago with regard to Article 2, what will happen if the Supreme Court leaned in like they have. And now we've seen 4 states that have already said, yeah, we're going to do. I mean, I said this on the show the other day, Ellie, that the lieutenant governor of South Carolina, she said, oh, yeah, we have to do everything by all means necessary to gerrymander our state to protect ourselves from those people. Those people include most directly in the direct part of the target, the center of the target, as I've said a number of times, folks that look like me. And in the broader sense of that, as that starts to spread out, it's going to be folks that are part of our LGBTQ community. So when this came down, and now the spread is happening into different states. How has this impacted you? And particularly given that you are also a lawyer, how have you looked at this legislation?
Well, when I was growing up, I had the benefit of knowing that I wanted to be a lawyer ever since I was 12 years old. So I started reading books about the Supreme Court when I was in high school. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And I also, of course, focused on Brown v. Board of Education, which was decided the year before I was born. And so, but I had this great reverence, and when I went to law school, I've been out of law school for 44 years. In fact, today would be the day that 44 years ago, I walked into a law firm and started a job.
Wow.
And my very first real-time, full-time legal job. But during all of that time, there was great reverence for the Supreme Court in my heart and in the hearts and minds of my law school professors and my classmates, all of that. And of course, we were, just past the Warren Court with all of the great things that the court did. Then Rehnquist came along. And so how I view the Supreme Court now is totally different. That Clarence Thomas obviously, allowed a billionaire and the Federalist Society to essentially buy him in a variety of ways. And, we have Alito, who's just making anti-LGBTQ plus statements, anti-statements. It's just, these are things that are mind-boggling for me as a lawyer, that we would have that for the Supreme Court. And then for Roberts, beginning with the 2015 case, getting the name of it, but the first voting rights that started to turn everything backwards.
Right. Defunct, yeah.
Clearly, he just, to think that we are now a racially neutral society and that there are no longer any protections needed for voting rights is just, it's incredible. It really is. So when the Callis case came down and what's happening now so quickly, everything is happening now so quickly in response. It just broke my heart.
Yeah. And
We've gone backwards.
The thing that's crazy about it, Ellie, and you said it best in terms of how quickly, is I want none of us to be surprised. I want us to all stay on point and be ready to fight while we're in this quagmire with Trump and the GOP at large, because this is all part of the plan. It's not, I don't think people understand the seriousness when folks like me, and to some extent folks like you, have said there's monsters in the closet. People didn't believe us. There's monsters underneath the bed. People didn't believe us. Now they're in bed and they've snatched the sheets off. There wasn't a pun there. I didn't mean that in terms of the KKK, but we've been saying this for decades. You said, and by the way, congratulations, 44 years is that's a great milestone to be proud of. But yeah, 44 years ago, there was a feeling that our court systems, I remember it myself, all the legal stuff that I read when I was a teenager and going into college and pre-law, all the things that I had this incredible respect and reverence for the law, maybe not necessarily our legal system in some ways, but the law and what it was supposed to represent. And that started with the Supreme Court and who was on the Supreme Court at the time. And those folks have changed, and it's heartbreaking to see that the Supreme Court has done what we said they were going to do. I give Hillary Clinton a lot of respect. She called it the night of the first whatever debate it was, the night that she wore the really cool cream-colored pantsuit. She said it then. She laundry listed. These are the things that are going to happen, and we're going to lose a Supreme Court if Donald Trump's elected. That was the first time around, and we have. And so now all the things that have been the protections, and they've just been chipped away, or they've been just bulldozed. Whether it be Roe, whether it be voting rights, whether it be LGBTQ rights, whether it be protections for folks when it comes to the ones that might be disenfranchised economically. The list goes on. Meanwhile, then giving the president immunity from being being who he is. So the Supreme Court has not been supreme, or at least 6 of the members have not been anything close to supreme for me in a long time, because all they've done is taken a wrecking ball to where we are. Let me ask you this question, and then give you some time to answer it, and then we'll go to a quick break, Ellie. Are you, as a lawyer, as a citizen, as a pragmatic person, which I know you are you of the mindset that, and let me ask a better question. How do you feel about, what do you think about the court's expansion if we as Democrats ever get back in power on the House, the Senate, and have enough votes to get to that point where we could actually have that change be put forward? What are your thoughts about expanding the Supreme Court?
Well, given the age of certain of the justices and the fact that it's likely Trump will have a chance to, renew a conservative justice, I think that the Democrats and the independents have to fight fire with fire. And I'd certainly be supportive of expanding the number of justices on the court, because the system right now does not work the way it's supposed to. And they have become political tools. They just have. And they're influencing so very much in our country right now. And they've given, as you say, Trump the green light, bright green light, to go and do whatever he wants to, because essentially he has full immunity while he's president.
Yeah, that leads me to another question about the Supreme Court. I made this observation right after the most recent decision, that this is Alito and Thomas basically kind of running the court, not necessarily Roberts being the Chief Justice. They're the chronological oldest members on the court, and I think, I could be wrong, and I will admit that this is their signal that they're looking for an off ramp. They're looking to leave. Maybe some people have said, no, Richard, they don't want to give up that power. But I believe, I think at least, I won't say I believe, but I think that they might be looking to, after the midterms, based on how the midterms go and looking at what, reading the tea leaves, particularly if the Democrats take back the House and maybe the Senate, that they're looking to leave. And then to your point, it will give Trump the opportunity to nominate 2 Supreme Court justices. I don't know if we'd be able to get them through if we take back the Senate, but sure as hell if we take back the House and we don't take back the Senate, that they're going to, that might be, I'm just saying to folks, don't be surprised if they decide that they at some point leave during the second half of Trump's this term. What are your thoughts there?
I don't disagree with that at all. I think that part of what it's going to be, as you say, about the midterms and how they turn out and how the protests are in the streets. I think, I have to tell you, I was disappointed by the size of the crowd down in Montgomery on Saturday, because, it was a crowd there, rallying against what Alabama was going to do with its redistricting and gerrymandering. And we had, a lot of hype about Selma and a lot of hype about, doing the big protest. But I was surprised, Richard, by it was a relatively limited number of people. It wasn't like 100,000 folks, which I would have hoped to have seen. And so I think that kind of stuff also influences the Supreme Court in terms of whether they feel public pressure in any way.
Yeah, that's a good point. I thought similarly about the size and there's so many nuances to that. as it relates to why the numbers were down.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's apathy because of people not understanding the importance of voting. I mean, if we look at the numbers from the 2024 election, one could say that that's part of it. People just don't realize how important voting is versus other issues. And I think that, and I said this, I think that voting is at the top of, for me, voting is in some ways more important than the conversation around affordability. It's our way of holding the country accountable is through voting. So yeah, that caught my eye as well, Ellie. Let's take a quick break, y'all. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm talking with Ellie Krug. When we come back, we'll talk some more. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Light at the end of the tunnel.
Light at the end of this tunnel.
That light at the end of the tunnel.
Your guiding light.
That light is going to get brighter and brighter.
Through another day.
I think it's a great day.
The Joan Esposito Show. Live, local, and progressive. Weekday afternoons at 2 on WCPT 820.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You want to feel important.
You want to be part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things.
You want to feel like you belong.
We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it.
We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers.
We are normal people just like you. But our part-time service in the Army National Guard means we get to be more.
When our communities are in need, we get the chance to stand up and do something about it.
We get to serve in our own region and help the people we call neighbors.
From the lakeshores of Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota,
the fertile fields of Indiana, Illinois, and Iowa, to the wide open plains of North and South Dakota,
we are here for our hometowns.
And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Illinois Army National Guard, aired by the Illinois Broadcasters Association and this station.
A veteran's hope. Where are you hiding? I search for you in the seconds, the minutes of each and every day. Hear me as I call out to you. Welcome me home. Alone we stood, divided we fell. No longer. Now we choose to make the connection. Our new mission lies within. Visit maketheconnection.net to learn more.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Don't hit that snooze button. It's time for Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. We were talking with Ellie Krug, who is one of America's leading authors, attorneys, activists, and the host of the Illegal Trans Woman on KTNF AM950 in Minnesota. Ellie, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. There's been criticism, or criticism is the wrong word. There's been comments left and right, in the middle, wherever, all over the place when it comes to expanding the Supreme Court. As well as the conversation around D.C. statehood and the conversation around Puerto Rico having that same privilege. And I look at the numbers as it relates to the conversation around expanding the Supreme Court. I think it should fit with the lower court, and then that as it relates to representation, because at the end of the day, all this is about representation. Voting is about representation and power. The court system is about representation and power, at least as I see it. Statehood is about representation and power. So I don't see that going to 13, which would be the numbers that relates to the lower court, is it anything other than matching up the ability for more people to have a voice and have influence and power in the legislation that ultimately impacts all of us. What are your thoughts there?
Well, excuse me. I think that that's a large increase from the 9.
Okay.
Um, and while that would be certainly good enough to counter all of the conservative justices, I think that it would be probably better to be more incremental about it. So my thought would be to go to 11.
Okay.
Two justices, because there, you get some swing out of Amy Coney Barrett. You do get some swing out of her. She's done some surprising things and come down on the side of the liberal justices a number of times.
Yeah.
So, but I think the most important thing is the hurdle first about expanding the court, because the last time that we ever had the consideration of expanding the court from a real discussion was when FDR did it in the 30s. So we're talking, 90 years ago where this happened. I would like, from a better standpoint, I'd like to take the House and the Senate, and I'd like to do it in a way that they're veto proof, and I'd like them to pass bulletproof laws that, are exceedingly clear about, what needs to be done, and to fix some of the wrongs that the Supreme Court has done, like Citizens United. Just clearly, we've got to. I mean, everything goes back to Citizens United when that's when the money started really flowing into everything, including into the Supreme Court.
Yeah, you're right about that. I guess if we're gonna have some fix, let's back up the train a little bit and look at the things that were the forks in the road that put us on this path. I hear what you're saying, and that's a great perspective for us all to lean into. I wanted to ask you this question in terms of your political chops as it relates to candidates. Right now, we're getting close to the November elections. I'm trying not to say midterms all the time because it sets us up to think about this a little bit differently. But we're coming up to the November elections, and we've had some great successes on some state levels and some of the federal seats, and certainly with some of the special or off cycle elections. Have you thought? I know you've thought about it, but I guess the question is, who do you think is the person or persons that will be some of the leading voices for the Democratic Party? I've been very, very careful to not say we have to pick a person now. But when you look at the landscape of who are some of the rising voices and that are the people that are seeming to gain and have momentum and are gaining some momentum, who comes to mind in that conversation for you?
Well, certainly. I mean, of course, I'm tied here with politics in Minnesota and a little bit over in Illinois. Peggy Flanagan, who is our lieutenant governor here in Minnesota, she is running to replace Tina Smith, who's retiring. And there's a big fight, big primary contest between Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig. Angie represents, I think it's the 2nd district here in Minnesota. She's a lesbian, married, children. Angie's got really great reputation in the House. But here in Minnesota, with this election coming up, Peggy Flanagan is just really kind of running away with it.
Wow.
In terms of getting the nod. So we'll see with the primary, but all of the caucuses where they've been having the caucuses and the conventions here, the way the state system works, is that Peggy has really been dominating all of that. And so, she's Native American. It would be incredibly important to have her voice because she's just incredibly, very common sense.
Yeah.
Josh Turek is running out of Iowa.
Okay. Yep.
He is a wheelchair user, has spina bifida, has used wheelchair its entire life. This guy is incredible. He's got campaign videos of him, rolling up hills, of literally going step by step, scooching step by step to get to the top to speak to somebody, to a potential voter. And he has just a really straightforward campaign about the need to, get past the money.
Yeah.
And so I think that, so he may be a voice. And of course, the name is escaping me right now, but the independent senatorial candidate out of Nebraska, who is, he's not a Dem. He's an independent because he doesn't agree with some of the things the independents or the Democrats have done. And he's talking about creating coalitions in Nebraska, between the farmers and the urban centers and all kinds of, it's way different thinking. And he was on yesterday on one of the mainstream media shows, and I just was incredibly impressed by him. I wish I could remember his name, but I certainly remember who he is.
Yeah.
Because
is it Dan Osborne?
Yeah, I think that's who it is.
I think it's Dan Osborne. Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had to look it up. I'm not gonna lie. The name wasn't. I wasn't struggling with the name. I was struggling because I remember hearing about the work that he's doing and being willing to criticize both sides, quote unquote, of the traditional aisle. That's right. It's Dan Osborne. Who else are you? Who else is on your radar that is a leading voice that maybe not everybody is not so much heard of, but following right now? Are there others that you've been paying attention to?
Well, I mean, so these are Midwest people that I've been talking about. I know that it's kind of odd, but I really do like George Conway. I mean,
Really?
I really do.
And what brought you there? What's just his transition to a more moderate way, or what is it that you've really seen in George Conway?
Because he's not afraid of Trump.
That's for damn sure. Yeah, that is definitely the case.
And he's willing to say what he wants to, what's true about Trump. So, and he does not strike me as a convenient Democrat. Okay. Yeah. He strikes me as a constitutionalist, as somebody who understands really how bad it is and is willing to tell everybody about it and to do the work. I mean, I think that he could be an incredible leader.
Ellie, you know how it goes here. The music starts to play. That means that we got to stop talking. Ellie Krug, great to see you. Great to hang out with you a little bit this morning. I know we could talk forever, but I'm glad you're doing well. We got to get you back on the show on another morning when we can get you up early to talk. But thanks for being with us this morning, Ellie. Appreciate you as always.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right.
Have a great day.
You too. Talk to you soon. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. And now we're also on, you just saw this, AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. We'll be right back.
Stephanie Miller.
I get to say my favorite sentence in the entire world. Here comes Kathy Griffin, hero of democracy. Hello.
How are we going to do this? Because I know we're both going to want to talk at the same time because it's a love fest. I am so in love with you. You are so important and wonderful and funny and brilliant, and you are who I aspire to be.
No, you.
When I grow up, I want to be you.
No, you. No, you.
Stephanie Miller, weekday mornings 8 to 11 on WCPT 820.
I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear, call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Amazon Business. Unlock smart business buying with fast, free delivery on millions of items and practical AI innovations that automate repetitive tasks. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com. Amazon Business. Unlock smart business buying with fast, free delivery on millions of items and practical AI innovations that automate repetitive tasks. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies, a high into the lower 80s. Breezy southwest winds at 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, a chance for showers and storms, cloudy, a low near 68. By Tuesday, chance for rain showers and storms, cloudy, high of 81 degrees. Wednesday, partly sunny, high of 61. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 73.
NBC News Radio, I'm Michael Kastner. Yet another warning is being sent by President Trump to Iran. Scott Carr in Washington.
President Trump is warning Iran the clock is ticking, advising the government in Tehran in a social media post they better get moving regarding a peace deal fast or there won't be anything left of them. Trump's latest threat coming after he rejected Iran's response to a White House peace proposal.
An investigation is underway after two military fighter jets collided during an air show in Idaho. George Solis reports on video of the incident.
Navy officials say the pilots collided while performing an aerial demonstration. Incredibly, you can see 4 parachutes deploy as the jets start to rapidly plummet towards the ground.
The weekend air show was being held near the Mountain Home Air Force Base, about 50 miles outside of Boise. Video shows the jets colliding yesterday before spinning toward the ground and crashing. All 4 Navy pilots were able to eject. The base was locked down following the incident. A naval spokesperson said both aircraft were based out of Whidbey Island in Washington. A new poll says Americans are unhappy about the state of the economy. Mark Mayfield reports.
The CBS News and YouGov poll released Sunday shows that Americans find financial conditions uncertain and the economy to be struggling. The survey also found that Americans' approval of President Trump's handling of inflation has hit its lowest point. Respondents also said their income is not keeping up with inflation. Inflation reached its highest level since April 2023. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Luigi Mangione has a hearing today in the New York City trial for the alleged murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. The judge in his state trial is set to rule on a motion from his defense team seeking to suppress key evidence collected during his arrest at a Pennsylvania McDonald's. Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
Out Chicago.
I always like to give Scott a little something on his birthday, and I like to do it on the air.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you. There better be a lot of cheese in here is what I'm hoping for.
Well,
there is. You know the key to my heart is cheese. I am Midwestern through and through. You cut me, I bleed Velveeta.
We know.
I love it.
Catch Out Chicago every Sunday, 11 to 1 on WCPT 820.
This is a WCPT Civil Rights Snapshot. When the United States entered World War II, President Franklin Roosevelt believed that Major League Baseball should continue despite most of the players being off defending their country in the war. Worried about the future of the sport, Philip Wrigley founded the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League in 1943. Despite being the first league for women, the league did not want any racial integration and turned away pitcher Mamie Johnson because she was black. But Johnson's love for the game did not let this stop her, as Johnson and 2 other women of color tried out for the Negro Leagues, and all 3 of them were then signed by the Indianapolis Clowns. The 3 women faced struggles from their male counterparts, but won over the league and the fans with their playing ability. During their run, the Clowns had the highest attendance, beating out any team in Major League Baseball and the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. Please stay vigilant about our civil rights. The fight is never over.
Would it be crazy if you packed your bags and left for a week, a month, a year? What if you left for 2 years? What if you were going far away to help in a village on the edge of the Gobi Desert, to teach children and learn a thing or two about yourself? Would that be crazy? Peace Corps. Life is calling. How far will you go?
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show, Choose Views. If you're just tuning in, I'm Richard Chew. And yes, we are thought-provoking. Our next guest is definitely one that has a few things to say about a few things. It was great to have Ellie Krug on. And as always, our conversations just run out because we run out of time. But make sure you're following Ellie. She is on our sister station, KTNF AM950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and her new book, Being Ellen, A Second Chance at Life. You should check it out. Another great writer, strategist, and thought-provoking individual is our good friend Mike Nellis, who has been one of the best Democratic strategists over the last few years, and he's a host of Endless Urgency with Mike Nellis. Good morning, sir. Welcome back to Choose Views.
Morning, buddy. I'm not sure how I feel about being the best Democratic strategist over the last couple of years. That's kind of like saying I'm the most competent member of the Trump administration.
Well, that's why I said one of the, because I'm not into the GOAT conversation on things because it's a team effort, and
that's right.
We know that that's the funny thing, Mike. When we work strongly as a big team that's functioning, we get a lot of stuff done. I mean, just look at when Democrats have the trifecta in a particular state. That state just hums along. It really does. With all the detractors that come from the outside voices and the outside money and all this other garbage, Michigan got a lot of stuff done when they held the trifecta for those years with governor, lieutenant governor, AGs, secretary of state, and both chambers. They got stuff done. And it's so that says a lot. And it's a forward getting things done. It's not like, oh, we're not going to help you all out because you didn't vote for us. No, we want to help out everybody. So, yes, you are one of the leading Democratic voices and strategists. So that's part of the team. So there you go. Mike,
I appreciate that.
No, well deserved and well earned. I got to ask you this question. I mean, everybody's talking about this trip to China. Some are saying that, because of Trump's decline in his natural course of life of declining. We're all going to get there. Some of us are there in certain parts of our lives, but we're all going to get there. We're going to have a natural humanistic decline. But his decline politically and how he prides himself on being this bully and the strongest person in the room and all that. This trip to China was yet another reminder of that. And so here's kind of my big, broad question for you. In addition to the impact on his administration, I think some people are trying to say that his numbers, may have eked up a little bit. I haven't seen any evidence of that yet. But how does this trip to China, in your observation, not only impact him, but also impact the rest of the GOP's approval, not just Trump's approval?
Yeah, well, there's been no tick up in his numbers that I've seen anywhere. He is in deep trouble. And I believe it was ABC yesterday reported his lowest numbers that they've ever found for approval in their poll, which was 37%. On China and this summit for a second, I think it's less about Trump's decline, although obviously Trump's political, physical, mental decline is significant, as is the Republican Party's, but it's America's decline. Mm-hmm. Because if you just look at the visuals and the conversation and the table setting, China was ascendant here, and that doesn't make any single American more safe physically or financially. And that's a real problem because Trump has isolated the United States from every single one of our allies. This tariff war that he's put us through has forced countries like Canada, who is our closest ally, to run and make unprecedented deals with China. Now you add the war in Iran, which has put our military, and every single member of our military is brave, our military is strong, but Donald Trump has made them look weak by putting them in a position to fail. And so China appears to be in every single way ascendant. They have replaced our role as we've withdrawn from the world through things like USAID, which is about America's soft power and our ability to influence the rest of the world. So China has filled in the void there, particularly in Africa, which makes them more ascendant in a place where, resources are pretty darn important for us to be able to survive economically, not to mention the fact that there's an incredible amount of people who live there who deserve better treatment, I think, than the way they've been treated. And it's bad all around. And so I think the political consequences of the summit are probably null, because the average American is sitting at home going, why is the president of the United States being celebrated by 1,000 Chinese children when I'm paying $6 a gallon for gasoline? It's just another bad visual more than anything. And the Republican Party is going to pay the price here. Trump is so obsessed with his approval rating amongst Republicans, and it's very clearly high, but he's run out so many Republicans. People are identifying less and less a member of the party. They're identifying less and less a member of the MAGA movement. And so, yeah, they're winning their primaries. Like, they kicked Bill Cassidy out of the United States Senate this weekend. They may very well kick Thomas Massie out of the House tomorrow in Kentucky. But everybody else hates this guy. Everybody else is tired of what's happening, and his approval rating with independents is worse than it was with Nixon at the height of the Watergate scandal. And there's probably like 10 times more independents today than there were in the 70s. So he's just in a bad political position. He's going to take the GOP with him, and Democrats just have to not screw it up.
Don't fumble on the proverbial 1 yard line.
That's right.
I go back to the Seattle Patriots Super Bowl a few years ago. Give the ball to Marshawn. Don't try to pass on the three. I have people who don't even know football. I remember saying, "What the hell were they thinking in that play? Give the ball to Marshawn Lynch and let him find his way into the end zone." And please don't.
Or if I may,
yes,
to the Chicago Cubs fans out there, don't give up a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 11th when you have the lead and you clawed your way back. I'm mad. I'm salty about yesterday.
You should be, because I'm looking at the guys in the studio. We've got the perfect balance of Cub fans and White Sox fans here in the studio. So it's amazing to watch. I just sit back and just kind of nod and go, yeah, both of you all are right. So, because I don't have to pick a side when it comes to Chicago baseball. I've gotten in way too much trouble over the years, Mike, with that. So So I'll just keep my mouth shut there.
I startled my entire house with the sound that I made when I heard just the sound of the bat, because you can tell. You can always tell.
It's gone.
You
know it's gone. Yeah, you do. It's one of the sounds that is so pure, and people are going, oh my God, here Richard and Mike go. They're nerding out on sports. But that there is a sound that is like no other. When you hear a baseball be struck a certain way by a wooden bat, you know that's going to end up in the bleachers. So, but I hope that the Democrats can strike the bat properly, hit it in the fat part of the bat. They should. They've got enough situations and opportunities to do that. And the reason that I wanted to get your take on China is that a lot of people have been yelling and screaming, oh, he looked off. But I'm looking at it and saying, okay, I didn't see any data that said the numbers actually went up. I know that people were trying to push that narrative that he did great, but at the end of the day, I saw more. And I like the way you put it about the decline of the U.S. because China looked strong. They got what they got out of this optically. If no deals are cut one way or the other, they won the optics war last week. And right now, I think that's as important as just about anything is how we are perceived, which is not particularly great on the world stage.
No, I mean, and why would we be perceived well? We've destroyed the global economy with this war in Iran. We've angered our European allies. I mean, for God's sakes, we're really only a couple months removed from Trump trying to seize Greenland from Denmark and Europe having to mobilize to put troops in Greenland. And the problem with this administration is they've got no actual wins. Let me just try to take off my Democratic Party hat for a second, because I'm a partisan guy. I don't like this administration, but they've got no accomplishments. They've got no global accomplishments. They've got no domestic accomplishments. All of that's catching up with them. And Donald Trump's going around everywhere talking about how it's a golden age of America, but a golden age for who? Like 30 billionaires are getting everything that they want right now. They're making a ton of money through market manipulation and tax breaks. And I guess that the January 6th insurrectionists are now all going to be millionaires thanks to this new slush fund that Donald Trump created for them.
No, don't tell that lie. You know you made that up last night. You got upset with the ball game and you made that up. They're not going to get any money, Mike. You just made that stuff up.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding? No, he's totally going to – he's 100% going to pay out January 6th insurrectionists, including cop beaters. And he's going to give them all $1 million, and it's going to make me so mad. I believe it in my soul.
Can you – I mean, and $10 billion of which he gets to settle with himself on in terms of this whole IRA.
Right.
And
with your money, with Richard, with your money, with my money, we're going to build this ballroom. Not to mention, can I add, they had to close Alligator Alcatraz, which was like one of their big signature achievements they claimed in the first 100 days. They closed it after spending $2 billion to build it. It doesn't even house anything now. It's so unbelievable to me. We could have built 2 stupid ballrooms for that. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
They can't even do their stupid stuff right.
I mean, Mike, I always do this. It's simple math. It's kind of how I'm built when it comes to, my background in finance and all that. $1 billion. Okay. Cities are struggling. So let's take the top. I mean, I did this with the money that went to that's gone to the war in Iran, $25 billion. I've done a variety of different, and I know you do it too. It's like, okay, if we're trying to help folk, then let's help folks with the money that we're spending on the stuff that doesn't help anybody. That really was the promised group. The promised group for and during the 2024 election. And I know folks get tired of hearing folks like you and me harp on this, but damn, that's what he said he was going to do. And so we get to harp on it because was it a lie? Was it bad management? It doesn't matter what it was. It hasn't happened at the end of the day.
Right.
So
just think about all the affordable housing units that we could build with $1 billion. Like, I want people to understand, I know the federal government's enormous, it's trillions of dollars, but like, if you just gave a little bit of money, you could make such a substantial difference. Like, Illinois needs to build something like 250,000 homes for people, or like housing units for people.
Right.
And $1 billion would be probably like 2,500 units at minimum, right?
At minimum.
I mean, you could meet, it's 120,000 potential affordable units if you do that right. And it's just, and I might have the math wrong on that. I just did it on the back of a hotel.
Or just take that, and we got to go to this quick break. Let's still go to break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about that because I want to get into some of the Senate races. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. Also, our good friends at AM 950. Up in the great state of Minnesota, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu talking with Mike Nellis, and we'll be right back.
The family meeting.
Hi, Cindy.
I'm just a nobody with no circle of influence.
That's never true.
I'm trying to spread this idea that I came up with, so here it is. We still have DEI. It just has a new meaning. Demagogues empowering idiots.
You better trademark that, because I will if you don't.
I'm writing it down.
Sundays 4 to 6 p.m., The Family Meeting.
Hey, progressives, it's Richard Chu, host of Choose Views weekdays 6 to 8 a.m. Central. We're all anxious for the 2026 midterm election to arrive so we can restore some sanity and much-needed oversight to our government. In fact, it's the most important midterm election in American history, and Choose Views will be in the thick of it, bringing you candidate interviews on a regular basis. I'll be talking to Democratic Party hopefuls running for House and Senate at the federal and state level, as well as candidates for governor and other state and local offices.
I am in love with our ability to fight for our rights, to fight for our future, to fight for our freedoms, to fight as our ancestors fought. It's just our moment. This is just our time to stand up and to speak up. We can't give up on this.
If you miss any of the interviews live, you'll be able to find them all on WCPT's candidate interviews page at heartlandsignal.com/candidates. That's Choose Views weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m. on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk for 20 years.
Sign up for a library card. With a library card, you can discover new and exciting worlds. From borrowing audiobooks, to streaming movies, to taking virtual do-it-yourself classes, there's so much you can access with a library card. Pursue your passions and dreams through your library's resources and programs. September is Library Card Sign-Up Month. Join the festivities by getting your own library card today. Visit your library's website for more information. Sponsored by the American Library Association.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
No fake news here. It's Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show, 773-763-9278. If you're just tuning in, I'm Richard Chu, and this is Choose Views. We're talking with Democratic strategist and our good friend, Mike Nellis. Mike, so much always to talk about. I want to pivot real quickly because I know we're going to need a little bit of time for you to peel this apart. The Senate races right now, you've used this phrase a number of times that elections and politics is a game of addition, and others have as well. It's not a game of subtraction. So the House seems to be the one that is going to be won by the Democrats and taken back. And God willing, they keep repeating that into the 2028. But we know the Senate is one where there's some opportunities. And I was going through some different numbers. There's big Senate races in Michigan, Maine, Texas, Georgia, Ohio, even Alaska with Patola. What are your thoughts about, and you can start with whichever race you want, but give us your thoughts on the candidates or the races in those states and others if you have top of mind.
Yeah, well, very first thing I want to say is that I think the Democratic Party should be careful to not get too cocky because, yes, the polls show that we've got a really great chance at flipping the House. But these guys are going to cheat. And the thing we have to do is create a wave, an election wave that is so big that they can't rig it no matter what stupid thing that they come up with, because they're talking about doing stuff like putting ICE agents at polling locations. Good news is they don't have enough ICE agents to do it, and those guys don't even know how to do their regular jobs, let alone the stupid stuff they wanted to do on the side, like the day that they took over airports. Remember that? I think we all just have to remember the crazy stuff that they do that they can't figure out. But on the Senate, if you had told a lot of people a year ago that the Senate was 50-50, they would have laughed at you. But that's where we are right now because of how bad the economy is and how low Trump's approval is. And they're launching bad candidates, too. That's the other thing I think we don't talk enough about. The Republican Party has some really bad candidates running in this election. Democrats on the whole have good candidates running. So I would put the rankings like this. North Carolina and Maine are the two best opportunities that Democrats have for a pickup. North Carolina is basically gone for the Republicans because the very popular former governor, Roy Cooper's running. Maine is now settled in the primary. We're no longer having a fight between Graham Plattner and Janet Mills. Plattner will be the nominee. I have a lot of concerns about Plattner myself personally, but I know that he's better than the average Republican at this stage in the country's history. So I think he's got a good chance to win. All the polling shows him with a pretty decent edge there. So I think Susan Collins is pretty much in trouble over there. And then you start to get into the ones that look harder on paper. And all the attention is focused on Texas. And I love James Tallarico. I know a lot of people who work on his campaign. I put Texas at the bottom of the list of the ones that I think are going to flip. Because if you just look at the polling, if you look at where the money's going right now, how Republicans are spending, how Democrats are spending, Ohio, Alaska, Iowa are the three that are so much closer. And if I had to guess, we're going to see Mary Peltola win statewide in Alaska again in a much more favorable year than the year that she won it. I think Iowa is in the middle of a recession, and Democrats, no matter who they choose in the primary, are going to be in position to win that, and the governor's race in Ohio, too. I don't want to forget about that. And then Ohio with Sherrod Brown coming back, guys raising a ton of money, has that sort of unique brand identity in an election like this where people are going to go, all right, we're going to hand it back to the Democrats. Democrats also have a great chance to win the Ohio governor's race, too, which is an absolute mess. And then you've also got a couple of other weird ones that are out there, like Nebraska Senate race has the Democrats dropped out. There's an independent Senate candidate, Dan Osborne, who darn near won last time. So I think you could be in a position where Democrats
Michigan?
go from...
What about Michigan? Sorry.
Well, yeah, I was talking about the flips, but I think Democrats are going to be okay in Michigan no matter who the candidate is. I personally support Mallory McMorrow, and I do work for her on her campaign. I want to disclose that, but I think she's a phenomenal candidate. But I think Democrats will be okay in that race. It's going to be a fight, though, because it's a battleground state like it always is. But Mike Rogers isn't that strong. So as long as we hold Michigan and we hold Georgia with Ossoff, I think we'll be all right. And we go from 47 to potentially like 52, 53. What actually keeps me up at night is Democrats getting to 51 Senate seats and then John Fetterman screwing us over and over again.
To make it a tie. So that
exactly.
Just so that it's a civics lesson, guys. That happens, and John Fetterman votes with the Republicans, which makes everything 50-50. And guess who gets to break the tie? J.D. Vance. Sorry, Mike. I just had to make sure that people paid attention in civics class.
There's an even more infuriating thing that could happen, which is I think Fetterman could leave the party, register as an independent, still caucus with the party, put Chuck Schumer or whoever else in charge, but when it comes to the big stuff, betray us every single time. And nothing will make me tear my hair out more than knowing that Democrats with 51 Senate seats and John Fetterman allows Donald Trump to replace 2 Supreme Court justices in the next 2 years. That will make me want to jump out a window.
Yeah, and I have to admit that I've said this, and people have said that they think I'm crazy, that Alito and Thomas are ready to walk away. And I'm not that I need to be right, but I'm hearing more and more of that conversation. And God forbid that were the case in what you just said. were to happen, because we'd be in a real doo-doo storm.
They're saying that nobody's retiring this year. I don't know if that's true or not. That would be a colossally stupid thing for the Republicans to do, especially if we end up winning the Senate with 52 Senate seats, because we phase out Trump for 2 years and we go back to fight. And those guys are old, man. I mean, they're on an actuarial table. I mean, ask the 7 Democratic members of Congress who died in office this last year.
Man, you're going to get yourself in trouble calling people old, but I hear what you're saying. They are. They're politically old.
I say it with love, guys. It's like, if you look at it, that's like when I'm pushing 40. I got to look in the mirror and be like, I'm halfway through my life. You got to kind of you got to know when it's your time.
Now, I will say this as a quick aside. You've made a decision to make sure your health is right so that you're here for your family. So that's to be applauded. But no, man, listen, I think I love the way you position that about Fetterman and what could happen. And this is why we have to come back to the first thing that you mentioned about voting and activity. I don't care what anybody has to say about what used to be, and that politicians are all the same, and what does my vote matter? If you sat on that sideline in 2024 for all the reasons that you allowed yourself to sit on that sideline, you do not have that luxury more than ever, because even more is at stake right now. And what Mike just illustrated is what's truly at stake, because this would be another shift when we've got the power. And then people would look at Democrats and go, they didn't do a damn thing. They had the numbers. You begged for the numbers. You got them. You didn't do anything. The solution to that is huge voter turnout.
Yes, and I think
part of the solution, I should say.
Yeah, not doing what we've done before, where we've, I think, overly trusted Democratic leaders to deliver. Like, we got to dangle their feet by the fire too and make sure that they get this right. But I get asked this all the time, because I do the content creation, and I do your show, and I do Fox News and stuff like that. Is like, people go, Mike, why are you a Democrat? Because the Democratic Party makes me want to pull my hair out all the time. Like, they drive me nuts. You have two choices, okay? The Republican Party is long gone, and for all the faults of the Democratic Party, they're the only political party that cares about whether or not you have a good-paying job with decent wages, can buy a house, and retire with dignity. And yeah, they might act like your HR department every now and again, but we can deal with all of that. Yep. All right? And they're also the last best hope for democracy, because the Republican Party does not believe in democracy. If it were up to them, there would be no Democratic Party. There would be single-party rule. They're trying to pass multiple pieces of legislation to make it harder for us to register our voters. They're trying to dismantle Democratic Party's infrastructure. So we've got to get back in office, and we got to deliver for people, and we got to get accountability to the average American who's getting absolutely screwed right now.
Yeah, and that's clearly, that's the thing, Mike. There's no debate about what you just said. There's maybe some nuance to it, and ways in which we can shore up things. And I've been saying this for a while.
Nuance in American politics, Richard? I don't think so.
Oh, well, in this case, the nuance is that people are asking the Democratic Party to do more. The question is, how do we move that sled down the hill? The music's playing, so what does that mean? Richard and Mike have to shut up. Mike Nellis, y'all. It's hard for us to do, guys. You just don't know. Mike Nellis.
We're getting played off like an award show.
I know, gotta go. No, I got more to say. Mike, thanks for hanging out with us this morning, man. Glad you're well. And baseball, what can I tell you?
Yeah, that's right.
Be well, my friend. Talk to you soon. All right, 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. When we come back, we will be hanging out with Jill Habig. Looking forward to chatting with her about a little bit of everything when it comes to public rights. We'll be right back.
Around the Town, Chicago, with Al Besloff.
We had a very strange thing happen. Right. We were supposed to be talking to Ronnie Marmal, who is back.
Hey, Al, listen, I got a bone to pick with you. I listened to your broadcast last week after the fact, and you threw me under the bus. You acted like you couldn't find me. You guys were calling the wrong number.
I know.
How's that my fault?
At the time, it seemed like I had to do it that way.
No, I saw you threw me right under the bus.
Sunday afternoons at 1 on WCPT 820.
You're the only voice of reason on the radio.
You give me hope.
Having listened to you every day.
Thank you for your clear insight.
Always felt a little bit smarter. I listen to you every single day.
I keep coming back to this station, and thank you for what you do.
On WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies high into the lower 80s. Breezy southwest winds of 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, a chance for showers and storms, cloudy, a low near 68. By Tuesday, chance for rain showers and storms, cloudy, high of 81 degrees. Wednesday, partly sunny, high of 61. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 75.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Tired of all those talking heads down the dial who think they're always right?
People need to just calm down. It's gotten ridiculous.
Welcome to WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Quite frankly, I get most of my news from you.
This is WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's Progressive Talk from TuneIn.
We may be waking up, but we're still engaged. It's Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us. If you're just tuning in, this is Choose Views, and I'm Richard Chu. Just had a great conversation with our good friend, Democratic strategist Mike Nellis. And prior to that, Ellie Krug was with us. We got smart folks hanging out this morning. We got how many times do I have to say this? Our political bench is strong, and our activist bench is pretty strong. With us this morning is president and founder of Public Rights, the Public Rights Project. Jill Habig is with us, founder and CEO. Good morning, Jill. Welcome back to Choose Views on WCPT.
Good morning. Great to be back.
Absolutely. Good to hear your voice. You are, I use this phrase a lot, you are fighting like hell to make sure that we stay on the rails when it comes to what's important to our society, protecting, making sure we've got free and fair elections, making sure that people are treated right. Let's dive right in because of the fact that the voting rights legislation has really kind of shook the earth when it comes to what people can expect. And 4 states were ready to go with their continuing to tear down. How has your organization, what is your organization doing to help us in this space right now?
Well, first of all, I just have to talk about the Voting Rights Act decision from the Supreme Court for a second. As I'm sure you've spoken about at length already, this was just a devastating ruling for voting rights across the country, and really an abomination of a decision. This is a court that is rewriting our Constitution. It's rewriting Reconstruction in a number of different ways, and certainly rewriting the civil rights movement in so many devastating ways. And so it is really not just people I think immediately moved to, okay, what do the numbers look like? How many seats are going to move from blue to red, or blue to purple, or purple to red, or what have you? But I think it's important to just ground ourselves in the fact that this is a massive blow to Black voting power in the United States, and a blow to equality in the United States. And so I just think we have to remember that while we talk about the machinations of what every state has done, in the last couple of weeks in this kind of race to the bottom for our democracy. So, I think the brass tacks for right now are that this movement from states to upend their own primary elections, some of which have already occurred, right, and to just redraw maps as quickly as possible, is certainly going to make it harder for people to vote in lots of places, certainly going to make it harder for people to elect candidates of their choice in lots of places. But it also is having this upstream effect that I don't think people have thought about as much, which is all of the election officials at the county and city and state level who actually run our elections have to deal with the fallout
Yeah.
Right? They have to run a new primary if they've just run it. They have to figure out new filing deadlines, new maps, new ballots, get them printed on time, get them out to voters in time with new dates for new elections again. And then they have to do it all again in the general election later this fall. And so this is just yet another strain on all of the people who most of whom we don't know their names. They are, working in the background of our communities to make it possible for all of us to vote with a system that works. And so it is just adding a new layer of strain to the people who are working day in and day out to make sure the core tenets of our democracy works. And that is what we are trying to do at Public Rights Project. We are not partisan, so we don't have a dog in the fight of who wins any particular election. What we want to make sure is that every election official in the country has the legal support that they need to execute elections that are free and fair, so that every eligible voter in every new district that is created actually has an opportunity to vote, that every eligible ballot is counted, and that the election results match what people voted for. And that job is just harder and harder this year with all of these extra strains that are being put on local election officials.
Yeah, and you're right. Not you're the first person, and certainly the leader of an organization that's first in talking about that, which is the strain, the additional strain. It's already tough enough for folks during an election cycle to deal with all the things that you just said from an administrative standpoint and from a logistical standpoint. But now to have another 2 layers essentially added to the work that they have to do, and they're not going to get paid any more money for it. I mean, at the end of the day, I do look at it and say, and folks are not going to be additionally compensated for the additional work that they have to do. That was not born out of their own, decisions. It was hoisted. It was rolled downhill onto them. So that makes it unfair to them. And talking about free and fair elections, it makes it unfair to the folks that are working there to make sure our elections have some, some efficacy to them. And so, Thank you for highlighting that, because I hadn't even thought of it from that perspective. Like so many people, looked at the raw numbers. I certainly looked at the impact on individual voters because of the target group, which is primarily going to be, and has been, folks of color, Black folks particularly, and then our other communities of the LGBTQ community, rural folks, is soon going to hit. I think it's going to hit some of the non-typical discriminated voters, which will be white voters. I think that's coming. It already the SAVE Act is a good example of that, because that's targeting women. And so that makeup right there is another category. I'm pivoting by design, because I want to get your take on where you see us right now when it comes to the SAVE Act.
Well, so I think fortunately the SAVE Act doesn't look likely to pass this year. I'm sure we have not seen the end of it, as we've known with all of the Trump administration's efforts to undermine voting. They're like zombies. They keep coming back more and more, even after they've lost. But fortunately, let's just for folks who don't know, the SAVE Act is an effort to really make it harder for every American to vote. And the biggest provision is, requiring a passport or a birth certificate in order to vote, which, let's just be clear, 140 million Americans don't have a passport. It's expensive to get a passport. It is time consuming. A lot of people's birth certificates are stuck in, mom's drawer somewhere, or have been lost, or like you mentioned, so many women who have changed their name when they get married, their birth certificate doesn't match their name. So it is not actually a valid piece of ID for folks to use for voting. So it is really a voter disenfranchisement bill. But thankfully, so far, we're not expecting that to move this year. I think I will certainly expect it to come back in future years. And we've seen with this administration, they have tried to implement so many of these things through executive order, and hoping that an executive order can just overwrite federal law. Thankfully, that has been blocked as well. We've filed briefs in a number of cases against their executive orders, trying to make it harder to vote, and trying to use federal systems designed to just record people's social security numbers and trying to use that as a proxy for citizenship, which just doesn't work and would wreak havoc on elections. So, I think the SAVE Act, thankfully, is tabled for now. But that is just the beginning of the threats that election officials and voters are dealing with this year. So let me just break it down for a second. Election officials have to think about three things this year. The first layer is what election officials always have to deal with, which is human error, acts of God, natural disasters, et cetera, right? Election officials have to be ready for everything. They have to be ready for a power outage at the polling place, a voting machine that breaks down, somebody who doesn't show up and they're, tight on staff and that causes long lines. They have to be ready for all of that stuff every cycle. Then over the last 10 years, election officials have had to get accustomed to threats from election deniers and other third-party groups trying to interfere with our elections. They file frivolous litigation, they challenge voters at the polls, they challenge absentee ballots. They've had to get ready for that second layer of threat. And now this year, we have added a third layer, which is the federal government itself. The federal government has become the biggest threat to free and fair elections that election officials have to deal with, from efforts to get voter rolls to interfering with ballots and things like that. So election officials are dealing with all of those three layers of threat, in addition to monitoring what might be coming down from Congress.
So, Jill, let's talk about this for a couple of minutes before we go to break. To that point, what you just said, when you said the federal government, I was waiting to see if you were going to say something that's been on my mind. It's been on, I'm sure, millions of people's minds. And that is the impact of ICE when it comes to polling locations. This is what this is what I think could happen. I think that the federal, that specifically, and this is going to be a little bit partisan, I do think that the Trump administration and his cabal of people are going to try to come up with something that happens, whether they create it or lie about it or whatever the case may be, in this realistic world we have to live in, that says that some entity has tampered with XYZ as it relates to elections. And then they may try to blame it on someone that, doesn't look like the mainstream American person, and then say that we've got some election security concerns and we're going to, that are tied to immigration. And they're going to try to then use that as a reason to justify having ICE in various polling locations. They won't be in any red states. They'll be in blue states. I know that may seem way out there, but we are in a way out there bizarro world right now. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's very clear that the Trump administration strategy on elections is manufacture chaos, undermine trust in elections, and then use that chaos and disillusionment to justify greater federal interference in how states and cities run their elections. And so we've seen this drumbeat since last year, right? The most common question we get from election officials right now, we work with over 200 of them across the country. The most common question we get is about ICE at the polls and about other kinds of federal interference, like what happened in Fulton County a few months ago, which is still ongoing, where the FBI came in and seized ballots from the 2020 elections. And Fulton County is still fighting to get those ballots back and fighting over a really faulty search warrant that justified that seizure. But I think we're seeing this drumbeat of efforts to find a pretext for additional federal interference in elections in a variety of ways. We saw DOJ has been trying to get access to voter rolls in a number of states to try to continue to beat this drum of this boogeyman of non-citizen voting. Mm-hmm. They have investigated local elections and local election officials. It's been publicly reported. The Milwaukee city and county election officials have been under investigation from the FBI for the 2020 elections. Soon that is going to start moving into investigations in the 2026 elections. And so that's what we have to be ready for, and that's what election officials have to be ready for.
Yeah, let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You are listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and now AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Jill Habig, and we'll be right back.
Where are they now with Art and Bobby?
Okay, let's talk about our favorite place, Wrigley Field. How is that haunted, other than maybe they should get some more players to get them to win a couple more championships?
Yeah. I think that's your biggest haunt right there, that they need to get some more players and win a couple more championships. There are stories of the last manager that took the Cubs to the World Series, Charlie Grimm, in 1945, that his ghost has been seen around the ballpark.
Tune into Where Are They Now, Saturdays at 10 a.m. on WCPT 820 a.m.
Hey, listen.
I've tried everything to stand out at work. Donuts, a company coffee blend, even dressed as the company mascot for Halloween.
There's an easier way, a ComEd facility assessment. Their engineer gave my company free insights and actions that saved us $732,000 on energy. Easy, right?
Learn how ComEd can help you save at ComEd.com/facility assessment. ComEd, powering lives. Savings will vary based on customers' usage and rate.
This is a WCPT moment in labor. On March 25th, 1911, in Manhattan, a fire at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory killed 146 workers, who were mostly women. The victims of the fire were unable to leave the burning high-rise building due to the exits being locked and were forced to leap to their deaths from the 8th, 9th, and 10th floors. Locking doors was a common practice to reduce theft and unauthorized breaks at workplaces. As a result of the fire, the New York State Legislature formed the Factory Investigating Commission, whose findings led to 38 new laws regulating labor. Some of the new laws mandated better egress, the installation of better alarm and sprinkler systems, and increased availability of fire extinguishers. Coincidentally, the American Society of Safety Professionals was formed, which now manages, researches, and consults occupational safety and health across 75 countries. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We are working for your rights.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu. Take it away, Richard.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us. If you're just tuning in, as we kind of wrap up today, we've got the luxury and the privilege of having the president and founder of Public Rights Project, Joe Habig, with us this morning. Joe, this is I'll piece this all together for you from a public rights standpoint. Data centers are a big deal right now in the country, and they're showing up in different parts, and we are all dealing with this. And I think about public rights. I think about public throughways. I think about transportation, navigation, use of public space, water, and it all kind of ties into this concern around data centers. What are you hearing? What are you seeing from some of the local people that you interact with in different parts of the country, and then on the larger scale throughout the U.S.?
Well, I think it's interesting because data centers have really become a flashpoint for communities' fear around AI and what it means for their jobs and their livelihoods. And then that is kind of the physical manifestation of that fear, in addition to the effect on utilities costs when people are already struggling with soaring energy costs, effect on the local environment, water, light pollution, et cetera. And so it's really an interesting moment because I think data centers have become this kind of embodiment of people's fears about the future of their own jobs and their own neighborhoods and livelihood. And so I think it will continue to drive a lot of local backlash at the same time as local officials are also torn about the potential, economic development, potential of data centers. And so it is really putting this clash in local democracy.
Local officials, to that point you just made, are, in my observation, stepping up in major ways. And I've had this conversation with other folks where local officials, city, county, state, and particularly, and ironically, being a little partisan here, blue cities and states and counties against the federal government's push when it comes to things like what the destruction or the tearing down or dismantling of the EPA, and how that's having a huge impact on local governments and how they've got to sort of retool themselves. And even into the conversation around funding and the recklessness that the administration has had toward funding when it comes to things like homelessness. What are some of the observations that you and your team have been making in that space?
Well, I mean, I think that this is all part of the same theme that we've seen across issues right now, and particularly when it comes to threats and abuses of power from the federal government, which is that, the tech industry uses this playbook a lot. The administration is certainly using this playbook, is creating this air of inevitability, right? Trying to create the impression that they're impervious to pressure, and so people should just comply in advance and not even bother pushing back. But what we've seen across the board, whether it's ICE deployments in Minneapolis or, efforts to take people's sensitive voter data or data centers, or, no matter the issue, local or federal, pushback works. And, rights don't protect themselves. Rights are protected when people continue fighting for them. And so I think there's just a theme for all of us to remember in an election year, when it can feel like so much is happening around us and we can feel powerless at times. We have a lot of power, and we have even more power when we band together. And so that's what we've seen from our local officials across the country, is that when they band together in court to protect people's rights, they win.
Yeah.
More times than not. And so it's just important to remember that when it feels like everything is kind of coming at us.
Do you feel, or how do you feel about businesses and their operations and their pushback? I've been saying for over a year now, going back to when tariffs first became part of the administration's strategy, to whatever they want to call it, a strategy, that businesses uniting on, like you just said, working together can be pretty adept at saying no to the administration when it comes to the tariffs. And now we're seeing that, some businesses are going to start to receive money back because clearly, I guess the Supreme Court got this one right, that what took place was not, necessarily legal or certainly constitutionally appropriate. How do you see businesses in this fight and what their opportunities are?
Well, I think businesses have an opportunity to follow the lead of the organizers we've seen in communities who have much less power, much less money than they have, but have shown so much more courage by and large in the last year in the face of oppression. And we've seen that the companies and law firms and universities, those that push back and band together, win by and large. And so I think it's been very disappointing to me to see folks with the most power and resources often have the least fight in them in the last year. But you're right. The tariff playbook shows that it can work for the business community just as much as it can work for the local officials we help organize, or the community members and voters that folks are organizing in the streets. And so I think the collective action is the answer regardless of where you sit.
You said something that I found, talking about fighting, you were just saying this, that businesses, you're surprised that they haven't banded together enough, or whatever the right wording will be. I think of the word that Vice President Harris used in an interview a few months ago, where she said, I'm surprised, of the things that she's surprised that have taken place during this cycle is the capitulation by businesses and other organizations in some cases that had power to really do something and to stop this train. Do you see it somewhat similarly in terms of, and then that's a word that I'm repeating that she used, but how does that land with you?
Right. I think she described titans of industry, which I think is correct, and how quickly they have capitulated on so many issues that make it harder for them to operate. You know, businesses, typically the number one thing you'll hear from the business community is we need stability, we need certainty. We have certainly not had either of those things over the last year. And so, you know, one of the things that we think about a lot at Public Rights Project is we can think about, you know, I'm a lawyer, we can talk about the legal claims and the specifics of the Constitution all day long. But at the end of the day, in a moment like this, human beings have to make the decision to fight. And that is a hard thing to ask someone. It's understandable why people falter in those moments. We've seen an administration that tries to weaponize the FBI and DOJ against people. People have reasonable fears for their own safety and the safety of their families. They have reasonable fears for their jobs. And so part of what we have to do is help people see the other side of that, which is what is possible if we fight together, and help people see they have a community that will fight with them. They're not doing this all alone. We give the legal power, firepower, so they know, okay, I have lawyers I can rely on, right? I'm not standing up there all by myself. And I think that's what the business community needs as well. But it's important to remember it's individual people who have to make the decision every day to stand up and fight. It's not just this kind of machine calculus of wins versus losses. It's people who have to say, this is worth the risk because I can see the path forward. I can see the impact I can have. I can see the value on my community if I stand up. And I think that's what we need more of across industries.
Without a doubt. Jill, it's been great to have you with us this morning. As we wrap up, how can folks find you in the organization and potentially get involved or at least find ways to do some things that you may hand out as homework assignments to people?
Well, they can certainly go to publicrightsproject.org to learn more about our cases and our work for election officials in their communities across the country. If folks haven't done so already, make sure to register to vote. If you want to do more, you can volunteer to be a poll worker. Election officials need volunteers to make democracy work. Democracy doesn't run itself. And so if folks want to be part of that, they can volunteer to be a poll worker in their community too. That would be a huge help.
Got to have you back again to keep folks motivated and moving forward as we get closer to this congressional elections and all the rest. President and founder of Public Rights Project, Jill Habig, thanks for being with us this morning on Choose Views.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Be well. Talk with you soon. Guys, thanks for getting us out of the gate this morning, to, Mike and to Devin for keeping us on the rails. And thanks to Jill, of course, just with us. Mike Nellis for being with us earlier, and most certainly Ellie Krug. What she just said is something I've been saying, and it's really all about us understanding that it is individual. We get to have a say if we choose to go ahead and take that say and do something with it. So let's stay involved. We'll keep you guys plugged in. We'll do our best here. But in the meantime, stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. Take a deep breath and make your life count. We will see you tomorrow.
Texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from IQ Bar. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at eatiqbar.com/policy/terms of service.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ Bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 9 plant protein bars, 8 hydration mixes, and 4 mushroom coffee sticks. And now you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping when you text RADIO to 64,000. Text RADIO to 64,000 to get your 20% off. That's RADIO to 64,000.
Amazon Business. Unlock smart business buying with fast, free delivery on millions of items and practical AI innovations that automate repetitive tasks. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. The White House says China has agreed to ramp up trade for U.S. agricultural products, including beef, buying at an annualized rate of $17 billion in 2026, and at that same level for 2027 and 2028. This comes 2 days after President Trump returned from a high-stakes summit in Beijing. China did not immediately confirm the terms, but on Saturday had signaled an agreement to reduce some trade barriers. Wall Street pointed toward losses before markets opened today. Oil prices were up more than 1% for a short time overnight after Trump warned Iran in a social media post that the clock is ticking and they better get moving fast or there won't be anything left of them. This followed a call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Ukraine conducted large-scale drone strikes on Russia, killing 4 and wounding a dozen others. AP correspondent Julie Walker reports.
Over the weekend, one of Ukraine's largest drone strikes on Russia killed at least 4 people, including 3 near Moscow, and wounded a dozen others, according to local authorities. Debris also fell on Russia's largest airport without causing damage.
Ukrainian
President Vladimir Zelensky saying his country was entirely justified. Russia has repeatedly launched similar attacks on Ukraine's capital and other cities during the war. Ukrainian authorities saying Russian drone strikes over the weekend wounded 8 people. I'm Julie Walker.
Officials say all 4 crew members ejected safely after 2 Navy jets collided and crashed yesterday during an air show at the Mountain Home Air Force Base in western Idaho. The crew members are in stable condition and the crash is under investigation. More stories at apnews.com. This is AP News.
AP Sports, I'm Gethin Coolbaugh. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder has won the NBA's Most Valuable Player award for the 2nd consecutive year. The reigning champ and Finals MVP becomes the 18th player to win at least 2 MVP awards and the 14th to win them in back-to-back fashion. In NFL news, Aaron Rodgers is running it back with the Steelers. 2 people with knowledge of the decision told the Associated Press that the 4-time NFL MVP agreed to a 1-year deal to return to Pittsburgh. MLB 2-time World Series champion second baseman Jose Altuve of the Houston Astros is headed to the injured list with a grade 2 oblique strain. Today in sports history, Randy Johnson becomes the oldest pitcher in MLB history to throw a perfect game at the age of 40 with the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2004. More sports news at apnews.com. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies, high into the lower 80s. Breezy southwest winds of 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. And then for tonight, a chance for showers and storms, cloudy, a low near 68. By Tuesday, chance for rain showers and storms, cloudy, high of 81 degrees. Wednesday, partly sunny, high of 61. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 75.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
The Sports Cubicle.
Here in WCPT, we're fortunate enough to have the new head coach of DePaul University, Chris Holtman. You have that tough December where you're going to have 2 conference games, and then does that seem like it's going to work for you? How are you going to be having up tempo, or do you even know that yet?
We are really trying to play with great pace, more so than really at any point in my career. That's something we've really emphasized since the summer.
The Sports Cubicle with Mike Mercado, Devin Tingle, Dan Marver, and Paul Shivari. Sunday nights, 9 p.m. on WCPT.
Ready or not, summer is coming, and Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance is on now. Right now through May 25th, get up to 70% off everything home at Wayfair. Plus, score amazing doorbuster deals all sale long and surprise flash deals on Memorial Day. We're talking thousands of products at every style and budget. Now is the time to save big on must-haves for your patio, backyard, and beyond. These savings won't last, so don't wait. Shop Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance now through May 25th.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
WCPT replay.
This is exactly where we are. This is how we got here, because Joe Biden would not play that game. And, Obama did not play that game. We certainly didn't give them the clown show that Trump does. This is why I keep trying to tell people, it's not the show. Mm-hmm. Don't take the rage bait. Don't be part of the show. This is how he got elected again. These people want him in there because he makes them money. He gives them fame. Everybody's paying attention right now. They didn't pay attention when Biden was in office, and he was getting so much done. But they didn't pay attention because it wasn't a clown show. There wasn't the opportunity for them to, cover him and put on a little show of standing up to him for a second and then become famous and write a book.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.